Namaste everyone. Uh, so today I am covering about some important characteristics of organic farming. I read about organic farming since this is a topic in KS main syllabus. Uh, so I am giving some of the points and some comparison with the traditional farming or the farming based on chemical fertilizers, and the points which are just necessary to address some of the questions in the mains. So that's why I may not be getting more into the agricultural part or the details on how it's actually done, etc. Because I'm not from the agriculture background, so I did some reading on the organic farming and looked into some other websites such as like Tamil Nadu websites and other websites, and then got a fair idea. And this information should be sufficient to address some of the questions in the KS mains. Yeah, so this is not a full-fledged lecture, but some of the important points that you can like rely on to answer some of the 10 markers. Or if you have some idea on the organic farming from your classes, and this is also kind of a revision and then brush up some more details. So yeah. So organic farming is a very sustainable agriculture. It is like very holistic in the sense that it speaks about like different principles of the ecology, and then like say suppose various components are involved in the sense that it speaks about some fairness for the soil and also livestock and also for the environment, and in terms of the farmers involved and their economy, right? So what organic agriculture is about, like it's kind of a holistic plus sustainable approach, which looks into almost all aspects of the agriculture. Yeah, so keeping those things in mind, I will be speaking about some of the characteristics of organic farming. So the whole focus or the major focus on the organic farming is about the soil. So usually, yeah, so I will just brief about these key characteristics, then we'll speak more on that. So one of the key characteristic is the long-term fertility of the soil, like encourage the soil bacterial activity. Okay, don't think that I'm just reading these points because it may look like I'm reading these points, because some points are very self-explanatory. If you had some ideas also, like it will help in your revision. Yeah. So and then, for example, we add the external nitrogen-based fertilizers. So instead, it just relies on the legumes. So and then relies on the revival of the nitrogen in the soils in a natural methods, right? So then effective recycling of the organic materials is another point, in the sense that there are crop residues and the livestock manures. So if you rely on the organic farming, these things get effectively reused. So this is also like a cyclical approach, right? Then even to control weed, disease and the pest management, it only relies on the natural process. So we will see like how like what kind of the natural process it is done. Like say take an example of cultivation of rice, etc. So in that case, like how a natural process or the natural pesticides will help in organic farming. So other natural process involves like crop rotation and then natural predators or organic manuring. So these are all the like mechanisms or the methods, the way the organic farming is done. So organic farming will not be using GM crops, but it uses transgenic crops, in the sense that resistant varieties will be reused. So even if you take an example of organic farming in the rice, right? So to my understanding, even some fertilizers will be definitely using in case of the rice cultivation. But say if you are going for a organic farming, if you want to control some pest management, so from my understanding, or when I refer to some Tamil Nadu websites, what it said is like apply neem cake, right? And then you can also do with the crop rotation with the non-rice crop, or you can also intercrop with soybean. So it also says that, so while doing so, it reduces the leaf hoppers on the rice. So this is just one method. If you look into Tamil Nadu agricultural website, so it also speaks about like so 10, at least 10 varieties of pests and then how to manage, etc. But if you're wondering, like for example, is how pest management is done for an organic farming, is just to take an example of a rice. I just wanted to give one example, saying that, say the neem cake is like one way of managing the pest. Yeah, but like how exactly it is being done, etc. See, I'm not an expert here, but yeah. So this is how it is being done. So that's all I can say. Yeah. Um, because the intention is also not to delve into these things more and more into details, because there won't be any question on just on the pest management. So if I understand that if there is a question on the organic farming, it could be on like the challenges in organic farming, or why organic farming has been a difficult to pursue in India, or a combination of significance of organic farming and then challenges involved. Could be something like that. So keeping that in mind, so I'm referring to some other points. For example, yeah, so since I brought up like the way the pest management is done in the organic farming, I just took this example. But when we look into some of the problems in modern agriculture, for example, let's see some of the problems in modern agriculture that you may be knowing already. But the key thing is that focus on side headings, focus on some of the words that are used here, and like if you can remember, if you can rephrase in terms of these words, it is good. For example, we can just say that the fertility of the soil reduces in the modern agriculture with the use of more chemical fertilizers. Instead, you can also say that like land exhaustion, like constant use of fertilizers uh, over the years, it will definitely going to reduce the soil fertility, right? Yeah, but how exactly it reduces the soil fertility, and then what exactly happens to the soil structure and then soil composition, so I'm not getting into that details. So if you know that, or if you're able to frame a point on soil fertility, that is enough. Because yeah, that is something like agricultural students do, but that is not the scope of this discussion. For example, if you take like the chemical composition of the soil, and then like how it gets leached, and what are the nutrients that got leached away, or something like that. But what happens in terms of the chemical composition, no, that is not the scope of this discussion, right? So nitrate runoff is another issue, in the sense that 50% of the uh, nitrates are dissolved by the rain, and then high chances that it can contaminate the nearest water bodies. So that is another issue. And we know that the urea or the nitrogen based fertilizers we are using are already in excess, and then we are using it excessively, and then over the decades it has been much more, and hence that there is a nitrogen runoff. Then there is a soil erosion. Erosion is due to like repeated deep plow, okay, using the tractors, right? So this can also lead to soil erosion, and then when the with the repeated deep plow, there is high chances that soil gets loosened, and then the topsoil can get washed away due to the heavy rains. Then there is another issue called soil compaction. This is due to the compression of the soil, compression of the surface soil, is in the sense that when a tractor plows land multiple times, it's also said that the soil gets compressed, right? So this can have an issue. This can actually reduce the soil structure, can damage the soil structure. Yeah. Then there is something called agricultural fuel. Agricultural fuel, because this is the fuel cost even to till the soil, or even to manage the overall agriculture. It could be running the pumps based on the diesel, etc. So there is one example that in Europe there is at least 12 tons of fuels to farm a square kilometer of the land. I'm not sure of the year, but at least like the tons of fuel that is being spent in managing the agriculture. And you can again link to like climate change, greenhouse gas emission, all those points. Again, like the fertilizers are the biocides, right? To manage the weeds. uh, so those are all the burdens on the plants, because so when those sprays or the chemicals, uh, they can actually like sit on the leaves or etc., in a layman understanding. And then when it's not properly managed, it can actually damage, or it can enter into the food chain. So, and then cruelty to the animals. Yeah, I can also think of like, for example, in case of the poultry, in such environment, like how it is being done, or constant medication, etc., right? So, and then the modern agriculture phase, they show the stubble burning, and then loss of biodiversity due to monoculture practices. Like these are the common points. So keep these common points in mind, and then like think of how organic farming can actually benefit, in the sense that, so when there is a land exhaustion problem, uh, the organic farming looks into all components of the soil holistically, because the main idea is to like the protect the soil in all the senses. So yeah, we will come to those points. Say say if we want to look at like some of the benefits of the organic farming. So to say that, what exactly is the organic farming? So organic farming is just use of the natural inputs and natural processes, right? And there is no use of synthetic chemicals or fertilizers or anything which is synthetic or artificial produced, which is not part of the farming system. So that they call it as an organic farming. Like the chemical fertilizers are not used, and also if there is some kind of uh, I don't say mechanization, but mostly on the like chemicals at various levels. In the sense, could be managing of the pest, or could be managing of the weeds, or for the growth, etc., right? So there is no use of the chemicals, and then it involves only the natural processes. Yeah, so that is organic farming. For example, if you look at the benefits of the organic farming, you can start with the soil health. It enhances the organic content, and also microbial activity. Okay. um, Organic farming improves the improve the water retention and microbial activity. So then uh, it also looks into the aspects of the biodiversity, in the sense that um, organic farming like provides a habitat for beneficial insects and pollinators. Then again, I'm not sure of a particular example, like how it is done in like some crops, etc. Yeah. So then with some of the methods like crop rotation and then mulching, we can obviously conserve the water, so because it reduces the evaporation. Yeah. And also uh, with reduced evaporation, there is much more water available to the infiltration. Then as the chemicals are not used, so you can also say it prevents the pollution. Yeah. So for the benefits, we can also say cost effectiveness, but actually this is also a demerit, in the sense that, so though the input cost, uh, from the perspective of the cost on inputs like the fertilizers, etc., so that gets reduced. In that perspective, it is a cost effectiveness, but overall organic farming increases the cost, so that's a disadvantage, how we will see later. Yeah, so another important aspect is that resource utilization, in the sense that, so like the resource generated out of the uh, agriculture, in the sense that say uh, from the animals, right? Or it could be cow dung, etc., or for example the leaves, or the organic materials, so that can be converted to vermicompost, and then that can be again be used. So there's a component of the resource utilization. So overall it increases the nutrition value of the content. So this is most important in the sense that, so now there is a more demand for organic products from the perspective that uh, from the perspectives that, so as less chemicals are used, and then there is a improved soil quality. So there is a tendency that are the chances or the output or the crops that are grown, so they will come with better antioxidants or the vitamins. So the nutritional content of the food is expected to increase when no chemicals are used. And that again we can also link to that like adverse health effects, because of or they will have a lower pesticide residue and nitrates, heavy metals, and so on. Yeah, so then there is also in traditional agriculture, like the toxins are used in agriculture very much. So then also like if they are in organic agriculture, so the toxins are not used. So we can also link it to climate change mitigation. So these are all the some of the benefits of the organic agriculture. Suppose if you want to look at some of the challenges in organic agriculture, yeah, so it increases the cost by of the agriculture, because organic agriculture like less relies more on the manual labor, and which is time consuming, and it also uses the natural fertilizers. So I'm not sure of the details here like how far the cost increases, but compared to chemical fertilizers, the natural fertilizers or the biofertilizers, it is said that they are more expensive, right? And then it also, crop rotation is one of the organic agriculture methods, and if you want to rely on that, it also increases the time. For example, take an example of stubble burning. So the stubbles are burned to reduce the time taken uh, before going to the next crop, right? So sometimes even the alternate crop rotation is not done, and then it is not the land is not let for the auto rejuvenation. So in such cases, suppose if you are really going for a crop rotation, it adds to the total time of the agriculture. So, and crop rotation time, the farmer may not be monetarily gaining very much compared to the previous crop. So it is going to increase the overall cost of the production, because the main purpose that chemical fertilizers are being used to increase the crop yield by like 3x or 5x and so on. So when with the organic fertilizers, sorry, with the organic fertilizers or the organic farming, um, it is definitely going to increase the cost of the agriculture. The other reason is that when chemical fertilizers are not used, it is definitely going to affect the yield, right? So yeah, so I'm not sure of the numbers here, because you may look for take an example of a rice or say cotton or groundnut. Okay, so I'm not sure of the yield, like okay, to what extent the yield capacity get reduces. Maybe I'll look for that. Yeah, so that's something interesting to know, and then add to an example. And then organic farming needs some sort of certification. um, yeah, so the if someone is going for a certification, and it also increases certification cost, and there is a method of like peer-to-peer based certification that may be less cost, but anyway, in any sense, if you are going for some certification, that it brings some overhead. And then as the yield is less, it also leads to some limited supply. It increases the demand, and then like further price. Yeah, so with the organic products, some additional marketing costs also comes into picture, and distribution also an issue, because like these are marketed as a niche products. So overall, the more issues with the like the productivity and the yield, and also pest management. Pest management in the sense that, for example, if there are multiple fields, and then if the nearby field is using the chemical fertilizers, and they are somehow reducing the pest, so there's a more chance that if the nearby field is organic, all the pests can come here and then destroy uh, the crops or the field that are relied on the organic farming, right? So this is a major issue. So like there should be a community or kind of cooperation, that if like multiple parcels of the land or the huge land, like if they rely on the organic farming, that could be beneficial. But if there is a mixture of like the parts or chemical fertilizer or the traditional agriculture and the part are organic, then it is very good to difficult to sustain. So yeah, so those are the main disadvantages. And when it comes to some of the techniques of the organic farming, um, it relies on the intercropping and mulching, as you already know, and integration with the crops and the livestock, and crop rotation, right? Integrated farming, basically the crops and the livestock. So yeah, but one of the point is that it also said that like it completely avoids synthetic inputs, but there could be some synthetic inputs which are consistent with the principles of organic philosophy. Like one thing is this insect pheromones. Insect pheromone is nothing but that. For example, the pheromones are some kind of the chemicals released by the insects to attract some other insect or to like repel some insects. So yeah, uh, so this is also like the method of organic farming. Uh, See, generally, if you want to look at some of the traditional organic farming limitations, it generally overlooks what happens to the land and then soil fertility and what kind of food we are producing, and then like the end users, like people who use it and their health, etc. And then communities, like how many are ready to do organic farming, or right. For example, what happens to the actual farmers, in the sense that what happens to their income. So all those things are actually overlooked. For example, there are a lot of farmer deaths, suicides, etc., right? So and then holistically, what is happening to the Indian agriculture? uh, like the traditional agriculture seems to be pursued for, I don't say monetary gains, but uh, like when it comes to the commercial agriculture, it looks like we are not. It is not sustainable agriculture. It is not in sync with the principles of ecology, right? So organic farming tries to address these points. So yeah, uh, agriculture fuel I spoke about. Yeah, when it comes to some of the problems of the modern agriculture, we can also see that threat to indigenous seeds, etc., and then habitat destruction. For example, wild elements of the plants, which are anything seen as an obstruction to the traditional agriculture, are removed, and also contamination of the food, and then destruction of the traditional agriculture knowledge, like the hundreds of varieties of the rice and etc. could be tribal uh, agriculture knowledge, or the local knowledge as well. If you are not going for a high yield variety, right, local methods of preserving a seed, or like managing a pest, etc., right? So yeah, and then you can also speak from the perspective of like how the agriculture is being controlled by large corporation in the management of supply chains, distribution of the seeds, and then distribution of fertilizers. Like there is a complete package, and then farmers have to rely on, for example, take an example of GM crops. So have to rely on some of the big corporations for seeds, fertilizers, and then methods of handling them, all those things, right? Yeah. So these things are, this kind of control on the agriculture can be avoided in organic farming. Yeah. So this is a very high level discussion, because had a like um, a student from our guide from an agriculture background would have given much more details, in the sense that like how it is actually done. But these informations are like very high level informations, um, very high level in the sense that just get us to GS knowledge. and then handling some questions on significance and challenges. So if there is a question, if there is a question on say like how pest management is done in detail for 10 markers. So yeah, this is difficult to it is difficult to address such questions based on the discussion we had. And say for example, what kind of yeah, if there are general questions on like characteristics, the principles, etc., that can be done. So but if there is some specific questions uh, on some of the principles of organic fertilizers or etc., yeah, so yeah, that is difficult to answer from this discussion. So I just wanted to highlight some of the basics of organic farming from the reading I had and from the notes I did. Yeah, hope it will be helpful to make some notes and then see from the GS perspective and not from the agricultural science perspective. Yeah, thank you very much.